All right, we we are recording. Let me turn this down a little bit because I'm really loud in my ear. Maybe no, that's okay there. And testing. Okay. Well, hello, my delicious saltines. How are you guys doing today? I'm going to try to not touch the table because it's making the camera go crazy, and I apologize for that because that's kind of nauseating. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so happy to have you. My name is Audrey. I am a psychic, honest, true, blue, red blooded American psychic. Hard to believe myself sometimes. But I come on YouTube, I talk about a lot of different things. We do talk a lot about crime. We are going to talk about crime in the way of reacting to a podcast series done by Lori Vallow Daybell's brother Adam and their uncle Rex. So we have TYLEE and JJ Silver Linings podcast, supposed to be 10 episodes on their part. We'll see what actually ends up happening. So I go through the comments the best I can that you guys put in my comment sections. You know what? I hear you. I hear you. There's some people just they've had it with this family in totality. They're done. They don't want to hear anything from these people. They have a lot of bad things to say about these guys and the family. I understand that. I get it. If I wasn't psychic and able to tap into these two guys that host the show, I too would probably share your sentiments as far as their integrity, their motives for doing the podcast. I wouldn't, I don't think I'd want to hear anything they had to say because it's like, okay, we got Alex the murderer, we have sister Lori Vallow the murderer. There's a few more family members. What are the chances they're just as evil as these two people, as Lori and Alex? Is there a possibility this is a inherited trait? Is this some sort of genetic defect that this family has going on in their family? Is it maybe the way they were raised and these other family members are just as effed up as Lori and her brother Alex? Possibly. 100% possibly. And 100% maybe not. Now, the last video I mentioned Lori wanting airtime. And I'm going to sneeze. I'm sorry. Oh my goodness. Oh, sorry. It's coming. It's coming. Okay. The family seems to enjoy being out in the public eye. We have Uncle Rex, who's written a book or two. We have Adam, Lori's brother, who used to have a radio show of his own. So I don't know. Now, I did say, I believe in the first episode that I believe these two men are legit. That is a psychic observation from information I get from spirit. We're gonna watch the clip, but I first want to mention these things that I'm talking about. It's a half-hour video that they have. Because I do see in them that they are legit, in my professional psychic opinion. Does that mean they don't want to make money? No. Doesn't mean they don't want the money. I mean, they said they're gonna give it to charity, but, they're still trying to make money. Don't get that wrong. That's for sure. They're putting themselves out there. They wanna be heard. They wanna be known. And at the same time, they're trying to clear their name and also come off as normal, average people. Um, so those are my opinions, my feelings, my insight is psychic medium. Tylee and JJ Silver Lining. It's a half-hour show. I will stop throughout their show to give you my 2 cents. All right. So let's go ahead, get this party started. Here we go.
My sister, Lori Vallow, murdered her children, Tylee and JJ, and buried them in a pet cemetery. And we're all trying to make sense of it. So let's talk about it.
Welcome back to the podcast. We're going to call this a special edition because we are recording it today, releasing it tomorrow, posting it tomorrow, because we want to talk about the reactions to Lori's sentencing. Now, Adam and I had different experiences, so we'll be talking about them. I had the chance to go and be there in the courtroom in Idaho and to experience that and everything that happened after, the media frenzy after. Good experience. But let's start off, Adam, with your reactions as family member, Lori's brother.
Well, I did a couple of interviews that day of the sentencing on Monday. And, a lot of people ask me the same question. Why don't you or anybody in your family, why aren't you going to the sentencing? Why didn't you do a impact statement? Those kinds of things. And to answer that, everybody has, as you know, everybody has a different feeling about this whole thing. We all are taking it at different steps and different emotions. So for me,
okay, I just want to pause real quick. Today I feel like Adam's hiding himself. You can clearly see that baseball cap he has on. It's bent, on the sides to make it kind of go up in the middle a little bit, which forms around his face a little bit. So I do feel like he is trying to shrink himself today while making this video. And I feel he's very emotional. I feel like he's insecure making this video, and he's concerned about what's my word? He's concerned about judgment on himself, and I feel like he is hiding himself today because of it. All right, let's keep going.
And I think it's a double-edged sword for me. If I go, people are like, oh, he's there to get attention. If I don't go, oh, he doesn't care about the kids, or I've heard everything. So I didn't want to be there just because I haven't seen Lori personally in a long time. I don't want to be in that situation. I'm not ready to do that. People are like, well, are you ever going to go visit her in jail? And my answer to that is, I don't know yet. I'm not in a position where I can say yes or no right now. I definitely wasn't in a position to go to the court hearing and be there. I couldn't do it. I have a hard time sometimes getting out of bed and, on days. So I did not go.
When you say you're not in a position, you're talking about emotionally,
yeah,
healing wise,
I'm not there yet. Mm-hmm. And some people in my family may be there and they may not be there, but I can't answer for anybody but me. So I did not go. I did listen to hearing, and so I didn't watch it, but I just listened to it. So that was the stage that I was at. And you actually were there. So before I go through some of these questions I want you and I to talk about, give me your perspective of why you wanted to be there, or why What was the courtroom like with the people and Lori being there and all those things and your emotions and how you felt about it?
I have to start with breaking cardinal rule in my marriage. My wife doesn't want me bringing her into just about anything, but I trust her intuition so much.
Yeah.
And it was 8:30 Sunday evening. I was talking to my daughter on the phone. She walked by and, "Hi, Melissa. Hi, Lisa. Lisa, what are you doing?" "I'm just getting ready to tell your father that we're going to the sentencing."
Oh my gosh. At 8:30 at night on Sunday.
So we were in the car at 9:00 heading up for the 7.5 hour drive to Idaho.
Right.
Because I trust her intuition. And she said, "I feel like you need to go."
Yeah.
And I wasn't opposed to going. I was opposed to 16 hours in the car.
Yeah, driving. That's a big trip. Right.
But I'm so glad I went, because we talk about healing a lot, of course, on this podcast.
Yes.
And it's just a wonderful healing opportunity to be with all these people that are trying to heal. They're all involved.
Mm-hmm.
Just like people listening to this podcast, you're involved in what we're doing in the case. Most of us do we not need healing. Most of us are at least scarred, if not traumatized.
Right.
And we need healing. So every opportunity to do that, I think, is a good one. And there is a lot of love being shared there.
I think that's really important that we just stop and acknowledge what Uncle Rex is saying, because I think I've said this on my channel, and I question whether or not these guys, or maybe Rex watches my channel, because he seems to address a lot of things that I've said. Anyway, I appreciate the fact that that Uncle Rex, and probably Adam too, but they recognize that what their sister did, their relative did, has an effect, had and has an effect on the whole planet. And because I've talked about that before, one movement doesn't stop with one movement. It reverberates around the entire universe forever. It doesn't stop. So I just want to say I do appreciate that about Uncle Rex. All right, let's keep going.
Amongst people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've gotten close to Kay and Larry since this process started, and I was sitting next to Larry while Kay read her victim impact statement.
All right.
I loved being there live and seeing the expressions on the people that read their victim impact statements, and then walked back and sat down. We were right next to Tammy's sister-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a great experience to have that connection with the people that are involved.
Because like you and I are going to talk about healing, and we're going to talk about people at different levels in their life from this case of the healing process. And everybody heals differently. There shouldn't be any judgment of how people are healing, or if people are still angry, or if people have completely forgiven things, or completely on their way to, peace. We'll talk about that. And like you said, there's people in the court that were probably all different levels of that while you were there. Going back to impact statements, was there an impact statement that you weren't expecting to hear, or was there one that got you to where you were starting to think like, man, there's something here? Or was there an impact statement? I know the judge had stopped some people from their impact statements because they were going in a direction I guess he told them not to go in, right?
Impact statements are structured by law.
Okay.
And so apparently all the impact statements had been submitted, and the judge had previously said, you can't cover this and this in your impact statement.
Okay.
So when the judge just stopped it himself, it was for that reason, because they started to go there where they couldn't go.
Okay.
I have total respect for Judge Boyce. I know he's been taking a beating in social media, but I'm convinced he is laser focused on, we are going to follow the law and give this no opportunity from our mistakes of being appealed.
Right.
And that's what he was doing there. Now, of course, the defense objected, which is their right to do.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like it. I don't know of anyone that did, but it's their right to do. Again,
Right.
feeling that those guidelines were not being followed. And that was the other interaction that we had, the sidebar and the other interaction during that.
So with the defense, and I get this because I'm on this team. A lot of people are like, look, we all know that Lori did it. right? And that she needs to get life in prison, and everybody agrees on that. And then I always hear the statement, how could you defend somebody like that? And in America, there's a process that you have to do that. And this is what the defense lawyer, Lori's defense lawyer, the public defender, had said. Look, my job is to defend her. But I think some people got really upset at things that he was saying, and he brought in Jesus, and he brought in peace, and he brought in healing, which I'm a fan of Jesus and peace and healing. But when you put it with what Lori did to the kids and people's emotion gets involved, I can see how it made people upset at him for bringing that up. So with that being said, let's talk about kind of the shocking thing is I didn't know that Lori was going to speak. Did you?
I did not know. We had heard that possibility.
Oh,
Just like we had for not the sentences, what were they? The verdicts.
the verdicts. Yeah.
She had the opportunity to speak. There's speculation that she would, because she has said all along that she wanted to speak.
Right.
So we knew there was a possibility, but it was still a surprise to everyone when she actually did it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what really surprised me, because under this whole thing, Lori hasn't said a word to anybody about anything. And so when she actually started talking, a lot of my emotions were coming up, because the way that she was talking was exactly the same mentality that she had when I was standing in the kitchen with her and she told me she was becoming an immortal being. So I started to feel anxiety inside again and freaked out a little bit while listening to how she was explaining that TYLEE and JJ are okay and they visit her in the jail cell, and that she's with Jesus and everything is great. And then, I'm just like, I can't decide in my mind, is she really delusional, or is she just lying to everybody because she doesn't want to take in the responsibility of what her and Chad and Alex did? So I definitely need to talk to a therapist about this, but I'm divided in the middle of where she actually is in this process. But even with that being said, I am very upset and angry at some of the things that she said, because taking responsibility is one thing, or not taking responsibility. Yeah. Not taking responsibility is one thing, but then, when she's talking about, that the kids and Tammy all died in a different way than they actually did, that is very upsetting to me.
Upsetting, arrogant, irresponsible,
Right.
stupid.
Right.
There are many words to describe that. And
Yeah.
I imagine we're all feeling that. I can't imagine that someone takes that. Actually, my youngest daughter, Kaylee, said, well, Dad, I don't have much of an expectation for her when she speaks.
Right.
Because of her condition, whatever label you want to put on her condition.
Yeah.
I believe you can be delusional and still lie through your teeth. And I think she was both.
Doing both. Yeah.
And delusion.
All right, let me stop it there. Please don't make the mistake of thinking that Lori can or has or should be diagnosed with a condition, a disorder. She is evil. It's that simple. She's evil. It's in her. It was always in her. So there's no medication that's going to help her not be this person. Sure, they can medicate her and sedate her, but that evilness is something that no one can get out.
Delusion or mental illness, whatever label you want to put on it, never makes you unaccountable for the decisions you make. So whatever label you put on her or want to argue about what should be put on her, she is responsible. I like the label evil. What she did is pure
Evil. No doubt.
And there's no excuse for evil other than you decided
To do it.
to do evil.
Right. So when Lori was talking in the courtroom, did you look around? Was there expressions on people's faces that they were like, oh, I can't believe she's talking, or the way she was talking? Or did you talk to anybody afterwards about that?
Well, a lot of people afterwards, and we've seen comments on
Yeah.
the several
Yeah.
podcasts and interviews that have been done.
Yeah.
All of the reactions are consistent. I think we're all, whatever the right description is, I've heard it put many ways, nauseated. I said to my wife, I'm infuriated.
Yeah.
In the courtroom, you're instructed not to react, to hold your emotions. They had extra bailiffs in there, and the judge told everyone anything that they deem inappropriate reaction, people are going to be taken out. And they had plenty of
People to take
bailiffs
them
to
out.
do that.
Mhm.
And the bailiffs would take them out. So with that guidance,
You didn't see a lot of reaction.
no one was jumping up. I did see a lot of reaction. I looked around, people are nodding their heads. People have all the facial expressions you would experience.
That you would expect. Right. Yeah.
Or that you would expect.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there was one impact statement that you said you were kind of thrown off with a little bit because of how you felt, like you said, infuriated, right? That somebody said that they're at peace.
I'm still angry, and I don't know when it will. And so, but we talk about healing in our podcast, and I'm not ready to be healed. I don't even want to go there. I want to be angry because it upset me so much.
Yeah.
At the same time, I am so impressed with two lines. I'm impressed with all of Kay's impact statement. I'm
Yeah.
impressed with all of the impact statements.
Yeah.
They had the chance to say things that a lot of us wish we could say.
Mm-hmm.
I wish there would have been more impact statements. I wish Larry would have had the opportunity to give an impact statement.
Mm-hmm.
And we heard some of his when he came and addressed the media after the sentence.
Right.
But he said to me, we got to talk quite a bit in the process. He said, I've been working on my impact statement for 4 years. I'm really disappointed I can't give it.
Yeah.
And of course, he coordinated with Kay, so a lot of what he wanted was represented.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we would have heard Annie Cushing, who wanted to give an impact statement at the end. Anyone that wanted to, that felt that moved, I wish we
could have heard it.
Could have heard it.
Yeah.
But what really impresses me today is when Kay referenced her son Todd, who is the biological father of JJ.
Right.
And remember, he didn't give him up like willingly out of lack of love. He loved JJ, or Caden was his name at the time.
Yeah.
He loved him and just saw that it would be better for him to have him adopted under the circumstances. But Kay, in her statement.
All right, so let me point something out there from a psychic perspective, and that is, okay, JJ's biological father gave him up, the mother, the grandparents. This father, JJ's biological father, is probably going to suffer the rest of his life thinking that this was actually his fault. It's his fault for trusting people, for thinking he heard that it's in his own mind that giving up JJ is the best thing for JJ. The bottom line is no one could save JJ. This was gonna happen. This was his life's journey. It was already planned. The thing is, no one knew. That's the thing for everyone. We just don't know. I mean, I do because I'm psychic, but I know a lot more than average, but that came out wrong. I'm sorry. We just didn't know ahead of time that JJ was going to be in danger living with Lori, being Lori's son. Now, as a psychic, I could see me counseling someone in such a situation, similar as far as, okay, if we give up the baby, they would potentially go to this family. What do you think? Is that a good idea? Yes or no? That's when spirit could kick in, or my spirit guide, and show me the future. So it's like, do I take this path or do I take that path? Which path is the best path for my child? Anyway, so I just wanted to throw that out there. But JJ's biological father should not feel responsible at all, ever. And it's going to be hard for him to not feel responsible, but it's really not his fault. And he was trying to do the right thing.
Said, Lori, Todd forgives you. I wanted you to know that. And then she returned to her impact statement.
Right.
And I'm thinking Todd right now is basking in peace. I'm upset. I'll be upset for a while. Todd isn't experiencing that. I don't know what his initial reaction was, but I know now from that statement that he's a lot further along the road to healing than I am.
Yeah. And I'm wondering how, and being JJ's biological father, knowing that he gave up.
Maybe not further along in the process of healing. He's at a different stage. And I do think Todd, JJ's father, is still he's gonna have regrets and be upset about this later. It's not that he's ahead of Uncle Rex in the process of healing. He's just in a different spot. But everyone experiences the same spots, but just not maybe on the same timeline and in the same order, if that makes sense.
Up his son to be in a better position, and then his son ended up getting killed. That has got to be some kind of emotions that he's dealing with, and for him to be at peace and he's forgiven and he's gone on. How do you get there? And this is what we're talking about. We want to be there. Trust me.
It's a coping
I would
mechanism.
love to have peace. I would love it. And sometimes I do. It's rare, but sometimes I do. I would love to get to the point in my life where I feel at ease to be me again. I don't know how long it's going to take. So that's one of the reasons I didn't go. I'm not there yet to do that. So when Lori was sentenced to, I think it was 3 lifetimes, right?
Without parole.
Without parole.
And other sentences along with.
Yeah, the other sentences. And I know the judge did a great job. I think the judge did a good job of explaining everything.
Yes.
And was there any surprise from anybody that Lori wasn't going to get 3 life in prisons? I'm pretty sure we all were thinking this was going to happen.
I believe everyone that I talked to and heard talk about it, no one was surprised. Everyone was relieved.
Yeah.
And that's one of the first things that Larry said to me. He said, okay, we expected this, but I didn't know how big of a relief it would be.
Yeah. So he did feel that good relief.
Yes.
Yeah. So with that being said, in being interviewed that day when Lori's sentencing went down, and you and I both did several interviews that day, one of the things was, so now that Lori's going to be going to Arizona to face charges of Charles's death and Brandon's attempted murder, how do you feel about that? And I said, I hope, and we all heard what Lori said, and she seems like she's on a planet, when she talks. So my hope is that she just says, look, I'm guilty, because we all know she is, that she's just does that to avoid a trial. for me. Now, I know other people want a trial. They want
Death
her
penalty's
to
on the
sit
table.
there and go through what she just went through. Maybe something will snap in her and she'll understand what she's doing, or more lies are going to come out, which Lori lied about everything. So,
let me say, your cousin and my niece, Megan Connor, would call that her childlike wish.
Right.
She said that in her reaction. That's my childlike wish too. I would love for that to happen.
Yeah.
I do not expect it in the least.
You don't think that she's going to
Fantasy.
say I did it, and just, you think there's going to be a court,
Fantasy.
or do you think Lori?
Yes.
Yeah, there's no way Lori's going to just say I did it and I'm guilty. She's already got 3 life sentences.
That would be a total shock to me. She didn't accept any response. This hard accepting it.
Right. Okay. So the other thing was something that was said to me about Lori, and I didn't know exactly what to. It was she had a near-death experience. Now, I grew up with Lori, and we talked about this in our book. We talk about this. I have a whole chapter about when Lori actually, they're like, well, Lori wasn't always like this. So what happened? That's one of everybody's biggest questions. And I think one of the biggest things that happened with Lori was she started reading these books that were near-death experience. That was a change for her. I remember her a long time ago. She read one. She was like, oh my gosh, this near-death experience, and I can't put this book down. Like it resonated with her. She wanted to have a near-death experience because the books that she was reading, she felt like she wanted that. Why wasn't she special enough to have a near-death experience like these other people? So I think that was you would talk about the very beginning, before Chad, before Julie Rose podcast, before any of that. It was a book that she read about a near-death experience. And then she started reading other books about near-death experiences, and that became her obsession, was near-death experiences, before she got onto predicting the end of the world and listening to Julie Rose talking about call-outs and all the other stuff that go along with that. So I started thinking about when she was doing her statement, and she said, when I had Colby, her son, she said that I died and I left my body. And then she said, my sister Stacy came to her.
I think it was when she was having TYLEE, wasn't it?
Was told,
okay,
but it
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Either one. That was something I've never heard her say. That when I start thinking about Chad and Lori coming up with lie after lie after lie after lie. With Chad's book, I think he was a gravedigger, and he said something about he had an experience when he was digging graves with the other side coming to talk to him. So that was Lori's initial, I think that was Lori's initial attraction to Chad, was he had experiences with the other side. I think that was her thing. So when she said that she had this near-death experience and then she saw all this stuff, it was to me, it's another one of her lies, so she can feel special, or that she can, want people to know. I feel like they constantly have to come up with a one-upper.
Well, in particular with near-death experiences, and I'm going to rely on our true crime listeners to help us out in the comments on this. I believe that the way I understand it, not having read Chad's books or followed any of that,
right?
My understanding is he started remembering near-death experiences he had after Julie Rowe got popular with her near-death experiences. Then all of a sudden he remembered he had near-death experiences and could see beyond the veil, see through the veil.
Okay, well, now Chad's going to have a real death experience when he gets shot by the firing squad for killing his wife and 2 kids and involved with killing Charles. So, Chad, Get ready for your death experience.
Oh,
So he remembered them. So now it's Lori's turn
right.
to remember, oh, yeah, I had one too.
Right.
And so.
And then once you have one and you write a book about that one, then what? You're
game on?
Because at that point, you're your experience. Oh, I had another one. And then another one. And then you have to come up with some crazy idea of what this was and then try to explain to people. And the thing about near-death experiences, I'm sure some people have had them.
I believe in.
Yeah. But I don't believe it can happen more than once. I mean, or
I don't know what the rules are.
I don't know what the rules are either, but this is the when Lori was doing her statement and she brought that up, I was like, what is she saying? I've never heard her say this before. And usually I've heard everything that she had to say about near-death experiences. If this happened to her, why didn't how come I never knew about it? Because she wanted the attention. Why wouldn't she say it to get that attention then? So that, in my mind, my opinion, was a completely made up thing. And then, her description of what she's been doing in jail, having visitors from, the other side come and visit her and everybody's fine. I think it infuriated a lot of people.
Us included, or me included.
Yeah. No, it's just, yeah, I didn't expect it. And so I think it caught me off guard, even though I know that she's on this train of delusion or whatever it is that she's doing. Yeah, it got me pretty good.
When she first started speaking,
she
started quoting John chapter 8, and right where she's going with that. We aren't supposed to be talking, but I was drumming my fingers. I got mad right away.
Yeah.
And I said to Lisa, when she said, he who is without sin cast the first stone.
Yeah.
I said to Lisa, do we have any stones?
Right.
I'll throw in here, not because I haven't sinned. I've sinned plenty.
Yeah.
I didn't kill my kids, and I don't think anyone in that courtroom could have. So we could have had quite the stoning going on.
No doubt.
About that. And so I was angry. That was my
right off the bat.
That was my angry reaction.
She went right into trying defense mode. Hey, you guys.
I'm not responsible.
Right.
And so I was upset already and thought, okay, I'll calm down. I'll listen. I'll try to open my mind. And it got worse.
You
and
yeah.
The height for me was, seriously, you're going to tell us that you had forgotten a near-death experience and now you're laying it.
That, and I think the one thing for us too, is that she was saying that like TYLEE overdosed on drugs or committed suicide, or JJ committed suicide, or
she didn't say who.
She didn't say who, but there was three different excuses that the three people died. Her friend, Tammy Daybell. We
were, of course, I already mentioned, sitting next to Tammy's sister and brother-in-law, and behind Tammy's aunt, and we didn't know how to feel, whether we should slink under the bench just out of embarrassment for them hearing that, and the fact that they couldn't jump up and do something about it.
Right.
It was tough to deal with.
So with Lori saying those things, everybody that I was getting texts from and things, everybody was very angry that she took that tone.
Exactly.
But with that,
if you didn't watch that in court, Lori basically gave 3 different death scenarios other than murder as to how the kids were murdered. So I think she'll use the same thing when she's in court for her husband, Charles. One was suicide. One was drug overdose. Suicide, drug overdose. There was, and an accident. So if someone dies accidentally, do you cut them up and burn them and put them in the pet cemetery? Or if they kill themselves, same question. Do you cut them up and put them in the pet cemetery? No, Lori, try again.
That tone. She also tried to And her lawyer tried to incorporate Jesus and forgiveness and love,
My
which,
Jesus.
you know, it's hard for me because I'm all about Jesus, about forgiveness, and I'm all about love. But I'm not at a stage in my emotions where I can go down that route right now. I'm just not. I want to. Trust me, I want to. I'm not there. So, and I'm sure I got a couple years of therapy in front of me that, maybe will help me get there one day. Like we talked about healing and we talked about peace, and the reason to talk things out and maybe, help other people get through some stuff with peace and healing.
I hope so. I wish he wouldn't have taken the approach he took, but at the same time, I admire Mr. Thomas and Mr. Archibald, her team, her defense team, taking that position, to be her defense team. We need that in the system. We need attorneys that are willing to represent someone in this situation.
Yeah.
I'm reminded she didn't give them anything to work with.
Nothing.
And so every time I get irritated during the trial when Mr. Thomas would object, and it irritated me. Now, I didn't have much irritation against Mr. Archibald, and I talked with him a couple of times during the trial and just thanked him for his role and said, I realize she doesn't give you anything to work with. So they had to make stuff up or come up with the best approach
to defend her without knowing. Yeah.
Without anything, without any material, without a defense. What could they defend? Nothing. And so
I talk about Lori's sentencing as we come to an end of another podcast. Something that we're all going to have to try to do on our own, get help with other people. We're all on different levels. And I think there's different things that can help. And, praying, I think, in my opinion, is a big thing. A lot of people like to meditate, reading books that are forgiving and peace.
Just giving and sharing love. And I mentioned there was a lot of that there. That was a big silver lining to being there, just expressing love, expressing support. We got a lot of it from people that listen to our podcast. I appreciated that so much.
Yeah.
And you just get it from different people there. That's a big factor.
Well, we're in it together on this podcast with you guys and your comments and us trying to, make sense of all the how to heal from this tragedy that keeps going on. This has been TYLEE and JJ's.
All right, I'll get rid of that on the screen. So if you know me at all, you know how I feel about forgiveness. It's not a requirement in order to have a 100% happy, fulfilled, joy-filled life. Okay? Don't put that on yourself, because then you start saying, what's wrong with me? How come I can't forgive? What's wrong with me? I'm just sin, and now I have to be miserable. Forgiveness is a very, very serious thing. And if you don't forgive someone, you don't forgive them. What I do, they just don't exist anymore. They're gone. They don't exist. They're here. I'm not bitter. I'm perfectly happy not forgiving. It's a protective mindset. That's what our inner cavemen remind us of. You don't forgive because then you're going to put yourself in a similar position of danger again. It's ridiculous that our society, I think, in the whole world, is all about forgiveness. I don't like that game at all. I certainly do forgive, but don't feel like it's a requirement in order to move on with your life, because that is false. That is a false statement that is shoved down our throat, and it gags me. Okay. It literally gags me. So there we have it. I think this was a good podcast. Yeah, we'll see. I think these guys are watching my videos, so I'm telling you, I think they are. Maybe they'll mention me. Hey, this crazy fat lady from California is commenting on us. Anyway, you guys are great. I'll be doing a live show soon. We have Coburger to talk about. We have aliens to talk about to always talk about. So please hit that subscribe button. Please like this video. Please share the video. Tell everyone I'm back. I'm back. And I went to see Tyler Henry last night. So I'm going to share all that, how it went, what happened. I'm going to share all that with you guys really soon. All right. So